With some extreme weather occurring in the past few days, could we expect to see more of that? And also have an update on Tropical Storm Bret as well as Tropical Storm Cindy. We'll be breaking that all down coming up in this video. Howdy y'all, welcome back. Looks like there is going to be some more severe weather today as there's a slight risk which spans from southern Minnesota all the way down into parts of Missouri and Illinois, with a marginal risk which spans from Minnesota all the way down into Louisiana, and this includes parts of central Texas as well. All hazards are possible today with a pretty significant tornado chance, which is a 5% chance here in the red and a 2% chance in the green. As far as damaging wind threat goes, it's a regular 15% chance here in the yellow and a 5% chance here in the red, which includes central Texas. As far as large hail threat goes, that's the biggest threat of the three, as is a 15% hatched area, which includes southern Minnesota all the way down into northern Missouri, with a 5% chance here in the red, which includes central Texas, parts of Louisiana, and Mississippi. As we head off into Sunday, there's another slight risk over here in the Ohio Valley over the Williams Weather headquarters, which includes Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. All hazards are possible within this area, with a 5% chance for tornadoes here in the red and a 2% here in the green. As far as damaging wind threat goes, it's a regular 15% chance for damaging winds here in the yellow and a 5% chance surrounding that here in the red. As far as large hail threat goes, a pretty significant chance. That's the biggest threat of the three, as there's a pretty significant chance for large hail, as there's a 15% hatched area spanning from northwest Tennessee all the way up into southeastern Indiana, with a 50% regular area surrounding that and a 5% chance here in the red. As we head off into Monday, there's another slight risk, which includes central North Carolina and parts of southern Virginia. So let's go ahead and take a look at the time frames when we could expect the worst from the severe weather. Let's go ahead and take a look at the HRRR model. Keep in mind that dating time is up here if you want to keep track. This is an Eastern time, by the way, so keep that in mind as we push this forward. Looks like severe weather getting started by right around 2 o'clock and into that slight risk zone, lasting all the way through right around 4 o'clock. And this is when our greatest chance of seeing a tornado could be possible, as there is a 5% chance for tornadoes within this zone. And this is going to be lasting all the way through right around 8 o'clock, and then this weather is going to be starting to die down. Keep in mind the greatest chance is going to be large hail today and damaging winds, which could be gusting upwards of 30 knots, which is right around 30 miles an hour. And we could be dealing with some renegades by right around 2 o'clock in the morning up here in north central Iowa. And then it's going to start to die off by right around 4 o'clock in the morning, and we could be dealing with some flooding as well today. As we take a look at the significant tornadic parameters, this will give us a basic understanding of where the greatest ingredients for seeing tornadic development could be. And it looks like by right around 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock is when the greatest chance of seeing a tornado could possibly be. Looking right around 6 o'clock, could be dealing with a 1 out of 10 on the tornadic scale within this area. And as we take a look at a sounding within central Iowa, we look at the temperatures down here in the dew points, the instability and moisture. We could be dealing with some upper 70 degree temperatures with some low 70 degree dew points. Not much of a capping inversion. Lots of CAPE out there, about 3,000 joules per kilogram. Nothing off the charts, but there is still sufficient CAPE out there for tornadic development. Got a dry slot out there, so make sure you don't let those clouds deceive you. If you have a Lambo, don't get that Lambo out. As far as the kinematics go, we have low wind shear, but still 2.3 on the enhanced velocity index and a 126 on the storm relative velocity. A little bit of a curvature over here in the hodograph. It definitely looks like a pretty sufficient day for tornadoes. Nothing off the charts. Don't look like a tornado outbreak is going to occur today, but still, you should remain weather aware today. You know where to go when that horn ring does go off, just in case that ever goes off. Storm shelter, basement, enter your room, and never fear as shelter is near. And as we push off into Sunday, we'll focus over here in the Ohio Valley region, as there's going to be a slight risk for severe weather. Lower resolution down to the named 3 kilometer model. As it pushes forward, it looks like we're going to be dealing with some non-severe thunderstorms through the early morning hours of Sunday. Then it's going to clear out a little bit, and that's going to lead the way to some unstable conditions out there due to some surface-based heating and lots of moisture in the atmosphere with that sun coming out. And that's going to lead the way to a little bit of a squall line event happening by right around 6 o'clock over here in southeastern to southern Indiana. And this is when our damaging wind, large hail, and our tornado threat could come into play. Could be dealing with upwards of 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. And then we're going to come into sort of a renegade supercell event by right around 8 o'clock in this area, before it starts to die down by right around 11 o'clock and turns into a flooding event over here in central Kentucky. So if you live in a low-lying area, please be aware of that. Turn around and do not drown. And I want to look at the significant tornadic parameters to see where the most favorable conditions for tornadic development could occur. Looks like by right around 6 to 7 o'clock is when we could see the most favorable conditions for tornadic development over here in southern Indiana. I don't know, almost a 4 out of 10 on the tornadic scale. As you can see on the composite reflectivity, we got some real renegade supercells out there. And as we take a look at a sounding, this is over southern Indiana. We got some low 80-degree temperatures with some mid 70-degree dew points. Not much of a capping inversion. Lots of CAPE. 3,200 joules per kilogram as far as the CAPE goes. As far as the kinematics go, wind shear, basically a 6.2 on the enhanced velocity index. It's pretty high. 306 on the storm relative velocity index. Pretty sufficient day for tornadic development. Got a dry slot out there, so make sure to keep those Lambos in the garage. Don't let the clear skies deceive you. So it looks like a potential tornado outbreak tomorrow as conditions are more favorable than today. Regardless, you should be weather aware and know where to go when that tornado does go off. Storm shelter, basement, interior room. Never fear, a shelter is near. Now let's go and take a look at the time frames when we could expect the worst of severe weather on Monday. Now keep in mind, this will change between now and then. And it looks like by right around 7, 8 o'clock, as far as the name 3 kilometer goes, is when we could expect some severe weather. And to break this down further, we're going to look at the lightning flash density rate on Monday in the Mid-Atlantic region. And it looks like by right around 7 to right around midnight is when we could expect some severe weather. Now keep in mind, we do not know the main hazards for Monday just yet, but stay tuned and please subscribe down below if you want to see more forecast videos like this and keep updated. So I might have a video on Monday or Tuesday breaking down the severe weather hazards. And if I don't have a video out on Monday, I will have updates on Twitter, so make sure you go follow that down below. You'll never miss any updates and you become more weather aware. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the progress of Tropical Storm Bret and even Tropical Storm Sydney. Alright, if we look at Tropical Storm Bret and Tropical Storm Sydney, it looks like none of those are going to hit the homeland. It looks like Tropical Storm Bret's just going to weaken down into just the big old rainstorm for Central America. It looks like its wind speed's right around 45 mile an hour, max goes to 60. It's just a big old rainstorm. And as we look at Tropical Storm Sydney over here, it looks like we've got 60 mile an hour winds. It's going to be heading northwest. Looks like by the 28th, it's just going to die off and be post-tropical cyclone Sydney. As you can see on this model here, it's just going to strengthen a little bit before weakening down and turning into the Atlantic. Now, sea surface temperatures are pretty warm out there for this time of year, so definitely a lot of development can happen out here this year, but I don't think many hurricanes are going to affect the United States any due to the El Nino pattern I was talking about in my hurricane forecast video. If you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you check that out down below. It looks like hurricane season's starting to ramp up. Out here in the Pacific, we have another tropical storm chance, as there's a 90% chance within the next 7 days. Pretty high chance, so I'll be keeping an eye on that. So let's go and take a look at what we could expect as we head towards July. And to take a look at what we could expect as we head towards July, we're going to look at 500 millibar height anomalies. The blues represent the troughing patterns, basically bad weather, and the reds represent the ridging. As we push us forward, looks like we're going to be coming into a big troughing pattern out east, and this is what's bringing some severe weather out east, and that's what's going to be preventing Tropical Storm Sydney from affecting the homeland. And we got this big old ridging pattern in the southern part of the country. That's what's resulted in some record-breaking 100-degree temperatures for the past couple days. It looks like we're going to remain in that pattern for quite some time, as we're going to be dealing with a little troughing pattern out west. It looks like this pattern's going to be persisting for quite some time until a little ridging pattern's going to be setting in out west. We're still going to be dealing with a troughing pattern out east before we're going to be coming into a little bit of a ridging pattern over here in the northeastern part of the country. And to take a look at this further, we'll have to take a look at the simulated radar. As we know, we got the big old severe weather threats for the next 3 days. And it looks like we're going to go dry out a little bit in the central part of the country, while the northeastern part of the country and the northern plains are going to be dealing with some soggy conditions. As you can see, we're going to be dealing with some soggy conditions as we head into July. And we're going to be dealing with a little bit of a tropical cyclone down here in the Pacific. And that's not going to affect anybody. I'll bring some rainy conditions down here. And it looks like as we head towards July 4th, it looks like we're coming into a little bit of a soggy pattern out in the eastern part of the country. So it looks like some more extreme weather is going to be in store for the next 3 days. And if you live within any of these risk areas, just remain weather aware, know where to go when that severe weather goes off, and never fear, a shelter is near. And I will be reporting on any severe weather that happens over here at the Noise Weather headquarters, since we are under the slight risk. And it looks like Tropical Storm Sydney and Bret aren't going to be affecting the homeland any, as they're just going to be dying off, and Sydney's going to be heading out to the Atlantic, and Bret's just going to die off and just bring a lot of heavy rainfall to Central America. And it looks like as we head towards July, we're going to come into a soggy pattern for the east part of the country and up there by the northern plains. So if you like the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe down below. And until next time, never stop forecasting.